everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Musings of Modern Mystics. My name is Lorelei Hewitt.
And I'm John Davis.
And this is actually take two. We're having some technical difficulties this morning, so hopefully those are going to be cleared up. And it's going to go smoothly. Is Mercury still like retrograde, or is Mars? Mars is retrograde.
Something's not working right.
Something is not working
and
right.
So
Yeah, I know.
All right, what is it? And we'll have to spend some time, but we haven't got the time to spend right now. So let's do it.
I know it's a little bit of a cranky energy. You and I have both been noticing.
Yeah.
And my son's cars are breaking down. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on right now. It's not huge, it's not big, it's just small, but kind of agitating. Anyway, we're here to talk about men in love, because the other thing that we have noticed is that love seems to be in the air lately. Maybe it's that Leo energy, which is we're in right now, right? It's heart-filled.
Right.
The Leo sign is all about heart, but it's also all about the grandeur of your own personal experiences within that heartfelt energy. Hi, Kieran. Anyway, John, you were talking to me about just from a man's perspective, from a male healer's perspective, watching both the female clients and the male clients sort of explore this. There are some things that we both noticed through time that now these are generalizations, and I apologize. This is not a gender-neutral conversation at all. This is not.
These are perceptions, and they come from probably from our deep biases, and and therefore should be taken with the proverbial grain of salt. On the other hand, they are things that we've noticed over time, and the last I checked, we aren't that stupid and that dumb. So there might be some value to listening to what we have to say.
We don't think we're stupid and dumb, but there are some really interesting patterns that we've noticed with men and women. One of the things that I've heard you say with men is that they tend to be very they're not as fluid, and I've noticed that as well. That women, we change a lot over our lifetime, and men, they change a lot at the very beginning, but then they might kind of go through little blips, and we might want you to change, and we might want you to be different, and you'll just look at us and go, okay, I'll try to be, I'll twist around for a little while, but when we're turned around and not looking, you're like, where's the remote? I want to go back to that. I'm being silly and funny, but what is the things that you have seen that you've noticed with men and women?
I always return to an Ashley Brilliant cartoon, which shows a series of Dolly-esque melting clocks with baseball bats in their hand. And they're all look female because they're all dressed up in skirts and things. And these clocks are advancing on this poor guy, and they're beating him. And the tagline underneath says, I try to take things one day at a time, but sometimes several days attack me at once.
Oh.
And I think that when you boil down a lot of male-female dynamics, when it comes to the men say they want sexual passion and intensity, but then they also want no drama. You see over and over again, males say they want a girlfriend that's no drama, wife, no drama. And so I go, you just really can't have both of those. Sexual passion and drama kind of go together. Those rivers are always overflowing their banks. And so that's just how that happens. And so the women... Yeah,
do you know what we say?
Go ahead.
What we always want?
Yeah.
We want a man who will make us laugh.
Okay.
That is all, like everybody is like, I want somebody that is going to make me happy.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of women, at the very bottom of that.
If you
is
read
who-
all of those like little lines in Match and
Yeah, a
Plenty
lot
of
of them,
Fish
it's
and
like,
stuff like that. It's
do you
like
want- yeah.
somebody makes me happy, makes me laugh, and
Yes.
So
wait, I have to tell you.
Go ahead.
The other thing that I remember noticing, because you've never done the online. You've
No,
been married forever.
Yeah.
But I got divorced recently and remarried, so I'm a little more
conversant
familiar.
with
with that. But the other thing is that men will often they have this assumption. And I think it is they're trying to convey the nurturing aspect of themselves, but they do it with a puppy. And I have known men that have actually like borrowed dogs to take pictures with to convey that, yes, I can be nurturing as well as fun in this way. So, now we're being a little bit silly here, and a little bit stereotypical, but it is true that Seahawks shirts and dogs is what I would see a lot of with the men, and but that's not really what this talk is about today. I'm digressing, because the real thing this talk is about today is the deeper stuff. It's like once you connect with somebody, you fall in love with somebody. It's not about falling. It's not about finding that person. It's not about falling in love. It's about what happens once you find the match, right?
And so what I noticed is, you must remember that the male's first relationship as a little tiny boy was with mommy. And he figured out intuitively mommy. He figured out how to get what he needed from mommy. He figured out how, and sometimes mommy rejected him and he had to deal with that, but basically he kept coming back. So there's an internal thing that's connected at a nonverbal level. Remember, that's a nonverbal level to mommy. So when a male is attracted to you and finds you fascinating and finds you exciting and wonderful and wants to go out with you more than once or twice, then you say, okay, sex is a motivation. Otherwise, I think if there wasn't a sexual drive among the males, you would see women living in their own towns and men living in their own towns. And like animals, every spring there would be some kind of connection,
mating ritual,
ritual of some sort.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. We have a different way of us humans doing things. But one of the things that you'll have to notice is that in the first 6 weeks or so of the courting that happens, and I mean courting as in C-O-U-R-T as opposed to C-O-R-D, which is there's two things happening.
Episode.
A whole other episode, but which things could happen also at that time, is that the male makes himself available in a way he's normally not available. And all of a sudden it's like everything you've ever wanted, he seems willing to provide. If you say you wanted funny, he gets himself to funny. He doesn't know how he gets himself to funny. He's not sure, that it just sort of comes out of him because he is making that mother bond work. But somehow, in 6 to 8 weeks, there is a reaction. This is when he doesn't call you anymore, and he doesn't tell you that he loves you, and that he misses you, and all this other stuff. It's like, in that moment, he goes through a reaction. What have I done to myself? What have I'm neglecting my business. I'm neglecting, I haven't paid the rent. I've got 2 bounced checks. I have been totally into this woman, and he reacts against his mother. He reacts against the use of the mother bond to give the woman that he's attracted to everything she wants. And she goes, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
He was this person that I always wanted. He was like, I can't believe I found him. And all of a sudden, he's going through the reaction. You don't hear from him for 3 days. And you go, what happened? And you go, and then you find out he is not exactly all of those things.
Yeah.
But he has tuned into you. And he has made him into that. And now he's going, hey, what did I just do? Hey, I need my freedom. So that's when you'll get the freedom speech. I need to back off just a little bit. I need to take some space. I need to find out who I am because I've just discovered I made myself into somebody else that I'm not familiar with.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Stop right there. Stop. Because this is what women are always saying about men. And I have a confession to make about, the laughing thing, the funny thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times women, we want the man to be funny. So we laugh at jokes that we don't necessarily think are all that funny. Because I've watched women, sometimes when I go out to eat with my husband now, it's like I'll watch the mannerisms and I'll say to my husband, you know what, they're on a first date. Because I'm watching the way they're interacting with each other, and it's very sort of scripted almost. And the women will have this way of looking slightly sexy and slightly amused, especially if they've dated a lot. So, and then what happens is the woman will often, sorry, the little messages there on my phone, the woman will say the same thing. They'll say, oh, you know what? I'm being somebody that I don't want to be. I'm bending myself into somebody that I'm not to be in this relationship.
Yes.
And eek, what am I doing? And I think when people have been single for a long time, they're especially that courting ritual can become almost a habit the words that I'm looking for is that it's a habit in habitual courting ritual. Help me out here, John. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, when you first meet somebody, you want to present yourself as being...
You have done that same thing since the beginning of your sexuality. Let's say, since you were 11. And you're basically doing that same thing. And so you respond to the attraction sequence with this same thing. And so as we say in, various addiction sequences, just like that one. So love, remember, has a lot of the same hormones and brain chemicals that addiction sequences have. And you end up with the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for different results, which of course is crazy. So we have to say, as you grow older, most of what people do is they get defensive. They get defensive because they want to protect themselves so that they will never be hurt again. And then you hardly make yourself open to that. But when something turns you on and totally overwhelms you and you feel the advent of that in-love space, you find yourself returning to a love language organizational sequence that may not serve you, and it is totally different than the rest of your life experience. So you're split apart, you're opened up, but part of you has been left behind. And then later on, as you said, both men and women have some reaction that goes, oh, what just happened to me?
Yeah.
And then there's this thing that happens where most of those relationships break up. You have to be willing to go right from the beginning. Is there, as Robert Bly used to say, is there a third person that you're building in the relationship? In other words, you're building the underpinnings for something that is true for both of you, that is a third person, or a kind of like what I might call a celestial glue that will hold the relationship together, that makes it bigger than just the two egos that are involved.
Yes, yeah.
And so you have to find that third person or that quiet space between you and be okay with the other person being different. Because fundamentally in sexual attraction, in the beginning, since we both make ourselves into somebody who is thought to be lovable, but perhaps isn't you, then we have the reaction sequence that comes in, and we have to be able to talk it out. We have to be able to listen to each other. We have to be able to find out something important in sexual attraction, which is, although on the surface things seem great and they seem like a match, sexual attraction is based on fundamental differences. There are differences underneath that will come out after that 6 to 8 week period where you begin to go, who is this that I've been attracted to? And is this possible? Do we have a future? Now, women are always going into the future. Men are not. Men,
okay, all right.
that's the fundamental difference. Is it's one day at a time for the boys, and the women are already 20 years ahead,
Yeah.
and they're thinking about growing old together and watching movies on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so, and so you just go, okay, that's part of the sequence, and we need to be aware that everybody's doing that, but that we're building a third person, and the third person should be somebody that's like, we have a difficulty here. I feel hurt by something you did or said, and let's talk about it. And that first talk may be 4 hours long. The next one may be 2 hours long. And then you get to a place where it's like 5 or 6 minutes, and you begin to understand each other. But you are learning about the complete and total differences between men and women. And you're allowing that to happen because we need, as humans in a meditative state, to incorporate the larger frame of the male-female dynamic, or any attraction sequence, male to male, female to female. But that attraction dynamic has an energy that we need to learn how to make peace with, so that both of us together live in a space much larger than either of us would do individually.
So one of the things that I found in my short stint of dating is that as we get older, anyway, what happens when I'm talking to my partner is that we're not talking so much about future things anymore. I might be thinking about that. I will be saying, oh, I don't really want to get married anymore, but here I am, I got married. But the interesting thing for me was that we're talking actually more about topics that we're interested in. Mm-hmm. It's not about how many kids do you want. You know, we've done that already. So when you're past the kid thing, and you're mating for a different reason now. Right. You're mating for companionship and for intimacy. Then it becomes a different thing. It becomes more of like, well, what are you interested in, right? What are you interested in talking about? And am I interested in the same thing? Can we have a great conversation over dinner so that we're not one of those married couples that you see that just sits there quietly and waits for the food? And I always think, oh my gosh.
In a very bad Fellini movie.
Yeah, yeah. So there's nothing to talk about. So do you have something to talk about? And are you compatible in an intimate way? But after you find out that you're compatible in those things, there's those deeper levels, or those habits of being that we tend to want to gloss over and ignore. Right. It's sort of like the laughing thing. It's like the men can be funny and the women can laugh at the jokes and vice versa. But there are these habitual ways that we live that I think are really important to look at, that are not always observed and or maybe even respected. Things like how neat do you like to keep the house? How much control do you have over your own life? Or how much control do you need to have over the other person's life? Things that are more about, I think, the way we live more than what we're interested in. Right. And you have said to me before, John, that men, you know, men don't change that much over time. In women, we do change a lot because it's a chemical thing for women. Sure. When some of it's hormones. When you start your cycle as a teenager, when every month you change a little bit. When you end your cycle and become a crone, a wise woman. A wise woman. That is another big shift. But men, they just they might have like slight inclines and slight declines and things, but hormonally, it's not the same thing. So you don't have these dramatic needs to change who you are. Yeah, because it's like a reference point in life. It's who I am now. Physically, chemically, emotions are really just about a physical body. It's not a spiritual thing. When you meditate a lot, you get beyond that and you really realize, or in an energy healing session.
Right, and you also are able, when you meditate and are quiet, you can incorporate both the male and female
Yes, yeah.
aspects of yourself.
Yeah.
Because just because the external part is masculine, the internal part is feminine. And that's one of the reasons, and women, it's the opposite piece, but it's like all those pieces are together, and you don't see them meeting until you can get into a quiet space deep inside of you. And then all of a sudden, you sort of intuitively understand people, and you also get a little pickier. I wanted to piggyback on something you said about women having to deal with change all through their life, and men not, which also brings the key element of men in love, which is, and I hear this all the time, it's like, I want to be accepted for who I am now, not for whom I may change into. And so that's a key thing.
Yeah.
It's like, because women are like constantly changing, so they go, if I need to know something about this, I'm going to go back to school. If you go and see, the adult education and go to like community college for psychology or something like that, it's 80% women. It's women are like, let's do something, let's get on with life, let's learn something new. Men want it to be, that doesn't mean they don't go to school or they don't do whatever it is they do, but they generally, when it comes to emotions, when it comes to the strategies of relationships, they want to be loved for exactly who they are, all of the dents, all of the weaknesses, all of the strengths, and they don't want to have somebody looking at them going, yes, but we could change you into this.
Yeah.
See, if you just take this course, if you just take that,
yeah.
if you just improve yourself, you have a natural aptitude for this. You could be doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and whatever it is that you are right now is not good enough. And whatever it is that you could be is not happening right now. So you need to do, no! I don't want to do anything. You love me for exactly who I am.
Yeah.
So you go to the sex thing, it's the same thing. It's like, I don't like the way you make love to me, says the woman. So if you could do this and do that, it is like, it's like the wall goes up, and we're not going to make love to anybody. It's like they're so sensitive, because you remember, at the deep inside of the male psyche is a very wounded female psyche.
Oh.
And so when you play off of that sex thing, it's like, they're like, they may have heard one thing of the 8 suggestions you made about some way that they would like to be make love to. And you're like, that means the way that I make love to you, you don't like. Okay, we're shutting that down. I'm not going to be wounded again. So you remember that wounded female piece that's inside what looks like a very strong male is like, that's part of what we're trying to incorporate. And the piece in the woman, we're trying to bring both the external and the internal sense of male and female together. So all 4 of us, plus the third entity that I was talking about, that glues us all together, so that we can build a relationship that grows. So over 20 or 30 years, there will be changes, Yeah. But they won't be things that were forced. They will be things that you come to because love has its own progression.
Yeah. I think so. That's the moral of this episode, right? Is that we have to accept each other for who we are at that moment. And because you're right, a lot of women, I hear this a lot, I thought he would change. I heard what he said, but I didn't believe it, because he was just so present. He was so there. He was so everything at that moment. And there's much more than that moment. The moment you have to expand has got to be a big perception to see the whole picture. And is that going to work, or is that not going to work? Some days yes, some days no, perhaps. But you're right. Accepting each other for who we are.
Let's start here.
Yeah.
And just accept that.
Yeah.
Women don't go into the future, and men don't get too hard and fast about, I'm never going to change.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right. I think that's good.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Have an awesome week.